Okay, so my first question is, have you ever had a writer's block, but about events, meaning you need to run an event, but actually you don't have speakers, you don't know what your audience wants, you are absolutely clueless. Has this ever been your problem? Okay, I can see that at least a few people. Okay, so hopefully we are in the right place for this. So I had a very similar situation in my life, and actually this talk is based on a case study with my previous community. And this talk is not just about organizing events, because you are all pros here, so I'm sure you actually know how to run an event. It's more about engaging your community, both as speakers and as attendees, and building this events agenda with them in mind. So the case study is this one. So my previous community, a Yuno Juno community, so Yuno Juno is a freelancer marketplace. It's a curated marketplace, but it is very, very diverse, meaning we've had all sorts of freelancers in it. Video editors, copywriters, developers, project managers, really diverse audience. Meaning that if you try to run an event program for such an audience, you are going to struggle, because how do you interest everyone, or how do you find a common subject for everyone to actually attend? So that was the challenge number one. Challenge number two was, first of all, picking either a venue or a format. In our case, because it's a global community, we had to pick an online format, which, well, it sounds like it's easy because you just get everyone on a Google Meet or Zoom or whatever, but you need to make sure that the topic is good enough for people to actually want to come and be on Zoom for an hour, and we're probably all Zoom tired after 3 years of lockdown. The other one was marketing restrictions. So this is actually very typical to Yuno Juno community. We have two kinds of audiences. We have clients on the one side and freelancers on the other side. The marketing strategy of the company was to focus all the marketing on the clients, which means that we, as a community of freelancers, or my side of the business, we didn't really have a chance to actually advertise, announce events, make a call for speakers in our regular social media channels. So we had to be creative about how we actually find the speakers and how we make sure that the audience knows that we are running those events. And we had no previous history of events. So the only event that we've ever run took place once a year. It was a celebration of the best 100 freelancers of the year, which, to be honest, was great. It's a great party, always with a theme, but it doesn't actually involve all the community, and it was very much limited to people who were in London or in the UK and were able to actually come to celebrate. What about all the others? They felt kind of excluded. So hence the idea of running an events agenda to include everyone, or to make sure that no matter where they come from, no matter what the role is, we are going to have something for them and of value. So, spoiler alert, we started with one meetup of 3 people. We managed to get to 10 or 12 online community events per quarter. We had 40 to 60 attendees on average, and when I say attendees, it's not registered attendees, it's attendees who actually attended. And 80% of our speakers were actually community sourced, which means that they belonged to the community. So how did we actually do it? Well, so I am here to actually give you a few tips based on this experience, and I divided it into 3 sections. Where to ask the right questions, what kind of questions to ask, so how to ask them, and who to ask them. So let's start with where to ask. And these sound very obvious, but I'll tell you why, and actually I'll go bottom up. Community newsletter, this is very easy if you want to just ask, hey, do you want to speak? Or do you have an idea for an event that you would like to see? Because this goes to probably thousands, depending on the sort of community that you have. But the other 2 are a bit more nuanced. So Slack, or the community platform of your choice, wherever you engage, might be Discord, might be some other kind of channel, WhatsApp groups, etc. So obviously, it's not just about dropping a question and waiting for people to come back. For me, it was important that this is very synchronous, which means that if you're there at the right time and you start talking with someone, you have just started a conversation. You don't leave it till whenever. They reply to you, let's say they are there drinking their coffee at 10 a.m. It's up to you to focus to find out the right time. You start a conversation and you can actually ask more questions. Okay, so what event would you like to see? Oh, by the way, did you ever speak at an event? Oh, what was it? Did you like it? We're going to talk about how to ask or what kind of questions to ask later. And LinkedIn or other social media channels, again, it sounds obvious, but I felt that it's important to actually read between the lines. So especially in the case of a community such as freelancers community, where LinkedIn is used to build their own brand, they were actually very, very present, which meant that they posted a lot. So I could see who's very outgoing, who prefers to maybe post something, but I would also see that, okay, maybe they posted a YouTube video with them. So you kind of scout for potential in your community. It's not necessarily someone who is going to say, hey, I just did 30 conference talks and I'm up for another one. No, it's about those little bits of potential which you can find in your community. So these are the channels that I usually use to engage with my audience. Who to ask? So again, it also depends on whether you're looking for ideas or you're looking for speakers. I try to squeeze everything in this talk. So active, but also moderately active members. I always say whenever I am asked why moderately active or so-called lurkers, this is because you'll always have two groups, or at least two groups in your community. Ones who are always like, me, I know the answer, but you know that usually this is the loudest person. It's not necessarily the person who's most right about something. That is why you also need to ask moderately active. Moderately active are the ones who usually, well, they lurk, which means they read your content. They're probably there, somewhere there on Slack, but if they're not prompted, they're not going to offer their suggestions, which means that sometimes you may need to go, and that's why we have all those lovely community platforms who are going to actually tell you. So if you've never tried segmenting your audience or messaging your audience based on their activity level, these guys from community platforms can help you because they probably have a feature like this. So you can just mass message everyone who's just lurking, for example. And you would be surprised by how much feedback you get if you target those more quiet members of the community. Members with past speaking experience, that sounds quite obvious because obviously these might be the ones who are the most interested in actually speaking at an event. But as I said, sometimes it's about the potential. So think about the potential as in the way that you know that someone is very outgoing, or you know that they created their first YouTube video explaining something about what they do in life, and it might have had 3 users, but it doesn't matter. What matters is that this is the person who's probably comfortable speaking. What I found very helpful in my community is that it's because it's freelancers, they usually wear many hats. They have lots of side hustles, meaning they take courses, they requalify. So we had a lot of people in our community who used to be, for example, project managers, but decided to change their careers into life coaching. And they were looking for their first leads or people to get interested in their life coaching services. So these are perfect people with potential because they need your audience as well. And they might actually offer your audience something. So to give you an example, this is actually a perfect example. We had someone in project management who requalified as a life coach. She had no clients at all. She was happy to offer the first few sessions for free. And instead I said, why don't you just organize a group session instead and talk about, I don't know, working on your self-branding or working on things such as procrastination. Just pick a topic and we're going to start with that. And we picked a topic which was actually great for all the community because no matter whether you're a developer or a project manager or a video editor, you need to deal with procrastination, or you need to deal with your self-branding, or you need to build your social media image, etc. So we found a common points, and this is the kind of speakers that we invited. They were really happy because they got the audience that they didn't have. The community was really happy because they heard something for free that otherwise they would have to pay for. And the last one, ask not just about them, but about their connections. People have partners, husbands, work partners, flatmates that might be interested. And while this is not your first connection circle, this is already a recommendation. You get someone who someone else knows. So this, if you're afraid of actually, or if you're concerned about inviting someone who you've never heard of, then probably if it comes as a referral, it's much more valuable because you know they're not going to mess it up. Or at least that's the positive scenario. So how to ask or what to ask in order to get the right questions. So this actually is a little bit more about audience rather than speakers. So what does your audience, what does your community want to see? So get personal. And by that I mean, don't just ask. Okay, of course you can ask, what events would you like to see? But this is where people get again an events block or a writer's block. It's very difficult for them to actually remember. Oh yes, yesterday I thought about this lovely event, but today I don't know. So this is a difficult question to ask. So instead ask, what was the last event that you attended? What did you like about it, or what you didn't like about it? Or what is it that you missed from this event? Because this might be your niche. This might be your gap that you may want to fill with your event in the community. If you want as much feedback as possible, and you cannot really afford spending time on messaging every single person in your community. And again, if you're using one of the either community platforms or the tools which help you automate messaging, use automated messaging. I used it in a community of 20,000 with Yuno Juno. I use it right now with Grafana Labs, which is also much larger. It really helps you to get this first information or the first question out. Be prepared or assign yourself some time to later go through all this feedback, because what is very important, no matter what people will throw back at you, you have to respond to them, because this is how you guarantee that they're going to keep giving you feedback from now on till forever. So you do have to take this into account. And feedback forms quite obvious, especially if you already have an events program going, and every time after an event you usually ask your community or your audience to say how they liked the event. This is also the right moment to ask, what is it that you would like to see, or what is it that you missed? And I always say, don't treat negative feedback personally. It's never really about you. Just if someone says, oh, actually this is completely not what I wanted, ask what is it that you wanted, and there you probably have another idea for another event. So how FOMO helps you scale your events program. So this is something that I found actually very interesting. I never knew this existed. I noticed that people who speak at events, when they share that they are speaking at an event, they create a kind of speakers envy, and there are other people who say, hey, I want to speak too. But how do you do it? How do you actually make your first, second speaker share the information about the event? So if you can, get to one of the design tools, prepare some shiny assets saying, I'm speaking, like I'm sure you've probably seen a lot of these with this event that we're here at today. You might also, depending on the kind of audience, you might also want to prepare some copy. So something like, I'm speaking at this great event, I'm going to be speaking about this and that. You might think this is actually obvious for someone who will be speaking, but especially in case of, for example, tech audiences, they focus on the facts, but they might not be that good with the copy. So sometimes preparing a copy for your speaker to share on social media is actually a very good move, because then they just need to copy paste it, put it on their LinkedIn or somewhere else, and your job is done. And then you will see that actually people start coming in and asking, hey, what is this? Who is this person who's organizing these events? I also have something to say. So in this way, we actually got a lot of leads from the community and also from outside of the community. And I added one point here, which is actually not about FOMO at all, but I thought it might be quite important, especially for those communities where you struggle with the budget. So there are people who are money oriented for sure, and they will want to be compensated. And ideally, you would like to compensate everyone who's devoting their time to your community. That's perfect. But actually, there are two other ways, or at least two other ways. The first one is where you actually have people who are very happy to contribute with no monetary, with no kind of monetary involvement. If you have any sort of champion or ambassador program, they might be interested in joining that. So this is a kind of a carrot that you can hang in front of them. This is what we do at Grafana Labs. Anyone who helps us run 4 meetups, or anyone who gives 4 meetup talks, is immediately onboarded into the champions community. And this is like the most exclusive community of Grafana users. In Yuno Juno, this didn't work, but what worked was for all these people who actually started their new businesses, or they just wanted to, test their ideas, or they wanted to test themselves as speakers. What I found, and it may not work with every community, sometimes they were just interested in getting in touch with people who attended their event. So we said, obviously with the consent of the attendees, do the talk for free. But instead, instead of money, we are going to offer you the emails of everyone who consented to having their emails shared, because this is how also they built their leads for whatever they were doing. And again, this is not going to work with every community, but in this case, you can always explore things such as champion ambassadorship, advocacy programs, because very often people will just be motivated by getting something exclusive, like an exclusive access to a program like this. Last but not least, this is not going to surprise anyone. So how do you know what worked? You know it from feedback. So whatever feedback metrics you use, you'll get some information from there. But it's not just this, it's actual signups or actual registrations. So always check on the day how many people actually attended, because you probably all know this. People are very enthusiastic. They're going to sign up to anything that looks shiny enough, but then they don't turn up. If you see that they do turn up, it means that there was something in the topic of your event that actually drew them to the event. And again, if you record the talk, don't forget to track video views. This is a very important metric. Sometimes people cannot just make it because they have kids. 6 p.m. is probably not the best time for them because they might be exhausted. So you will always lose people who might be very interested. They're just not going to make it to your event. But if you provide a recording and they watch it later, this is also an indication for you that something was actually of interest. And based on that, you might actually want to build your you might find another subject of another event. And smart questions and feedback forms. So I mentioned it already before. It's not just about how it was. It's also about how you see this going forward. So ask what should come next in the same feedback form. It can be an optional question, but you will see that once you build the minimal loyal audience, or at least that's what I found, you will see that they actually really want to share feedback once they see that these events bring them value. If the first event is so-so, they're going to say, I don't care. But if they see that the event was actually really good and they are getting something, they're getting some kind of benefit from it, they are going to keep providing you feedback so that you can build on it. So in a way, you build a feedback loop or a little feedback community. And I felt this worked really lovely in Yuno Juno community. I got people who, they didn't really even care about whether an event was 1 or 4. They used this form exactly to say something like, hey, I have an amazing idea for next event. Can you run it for us? So, yeah, that's it. And magically, I managed in 15 minutes. Thank you so much.